Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today. Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. Please listen to this presentation as you would a radio broadcast. In this essay, I'd like to talk about to what extent is it a duty of a man to protect women, and I'm sort of talking Western society here. So there's a number of vids going around on social media, and it's I think rather limp-wristed girly men, but they're pretending that they're big and tough, or making out loud because they if they saw a woman, if there was a bunch of black guys or immigrants, going attacking a white woman, these heroes, these cartoon character heroes, they would rush to her defense to protect the little woman, big strong man protecting little woman. Ooh. Now, this is sort of almost a caricature in my view, at least. So really little simp boy, you'd run into the middle of half a dozen black guys or something, and you'd say, "Unhand that woman, you knaves, or I'm going to beat you senseless Western style. Come on, I'll take you all on." I don't think so. Somehow, I think they'd maybe be calling, emergency service of the police or something. I think they'd perhaps do that. Maybe there's one guy they would call out, "Stop it, you dastardly migrant!" Handling mishandling that white woman. How dare you run before I tell the teacher on you. I think that would be the extent of it. Now, to what extent? When we go back to the chivalry, the days of the chivalry and the knights, we're talking about the upper class sort of men defending the honor of upper class women against lower class men. That's really sort of the origins, if you like, of this sort of chivalry and sense of honor. And we're talking about a trained warrior, putting some miscreant who has no sort of training in their place, and I'll take you out the back and give you a fist beating or so, that type of thing. So it doesn't really have any place in practical reality. Let's suppose there's a situation then where there's some third world exotics that are maybe in the throes of committing unsavory crimes against a white woman. It's in the street, you see it. What do you do? Well, that in all probability, that white woman has voted for mass migration. She's been down saying, all illegals are people. There's no such thing as illegal. There's no such thing as an illegal human being, and this and that. And she cries, and so she's fully supporting mass migration. She fully supports the idea the world is an evil white patriarchy, misogyny, white supremacy. Hitler and Nazis are everywhere, and only by dismantling the patriarchy, affirmative action, we have to make sure straight white men don't get jobs. And she's on board with all of that and votes continuously for it. She's at work or anything she does. The protesting about climate change or anything. She's fully on board with the idea that these exotics should be brought in en masse, and they shouldn't be stolen. Anyone that questions it is Hitler. So now these exotics are turning on her, and suddenly she's bleating and screaming for help and protection. You brought it on yourself. And so you might as well just sit back and take it quietly, and they probably won't hurt you or won't hurt you too much. But you're the white guy in there, and you think, well, it's outrageous these people are coming here in the first place. Look at the crimes they're committing. Look at how disorderly society is becoming. Crime rates are going through the roof. This is terrible. I have to do something about it. Now you're the racist by even intervening. And the chances are, if it gets to fisticuffs and punch-ups, that you're going to be arrested for a hate crime, a racist hate crime, and because your motivation was hate, because you're Hitler and you wave swastikas and so on. So the chances are that you're going to come out the worst. And we see this continually in the United States, where if men do intervene to stop a crime, or to stop a woman being assaulted, that it's often them who are arrested, and that the exotic is left, the migrant, illegal or otherwise, is they've got mental health problems. We can forget about that. It's that damn white boy who's the problem. He's fucking racism. So I don't know how sensible it is to get involved. Then we got the situation of escalation, and there was a recent situation that I was involved in. In fact, I'd gone to the shop to get, we're out somewhere in a park, and I'd gone to the shops to get some stuff, like get some drinks and snacks and whatnot. And my wife saw some kid that was attacking a native marsupial, like a native wild animal, and trying to beat it with a stick and all sorts of stuff. She told the kid to stop. Now, as you can imagine, a kid who's doing that sort of thing, the upbringing they've had possibly isn't the most sophisticated. And so I came back, unaware of all this, by the way. I came back, and just as I was approaching, there was a guy, very brutish, very thug-like, with an equally brutish and thug-like woman, standing just a little bit back. And he comes up to my wife, and my wife's quite tall, so he's not really any bigger than her, but and I'm not within earshot at the moment, so I'm looking at this thinking, this doesn't look too good. What's he doing? And he was doing that classic sort of thug troglodyte thing where they come front on you and they square up and they're straight back. Yeah, you want to fight me? Yeah, and that type of thing. And so I'm watching this, and I realize it's only verbal at this point. And he hasn't touching my wife or anything. It's only verbal. And as I come closer, I can hear saying, well, you can't tell my kid what to do, and you're not allowed to tell my kid what to do, and you can't put me down. And so he's very much someone who's at the bottom of society, and they perceive anything at all as really disrespecting them in some way. And if they're not sure how it's disrespecting him, they sort of just get the vibe of it all. And so he's like fighting back against that disrespect. And I think the woman put him up to it. I don't think it was his idea. Because she was sort of hanging behind furtively, sort of rather excited by the whole thing. And now these people aren't sophisticated enough to think of, that, if this goes any further, you're talking about the police, courtrooms, judges, prisons, hospitals, doctor. I mean, is that what you really want? And now somebody like him I would guarantee he's already well known to the authorities. I wouldn't be surprised if he's been in trouble with the police multiple times. And again, given the way his demeanor, I would suggest he's probably had some time in prison. But nonetheless, so now I've got a choice at this point. Do I intervene? Because my intervention will probably escalate it. Again, he's not the sort of guy who's going to understand, do you want to talk to a judge? I'd have to go straight in sort of really with that. But, and it has a way of calming these people. I'll come back to that in a minute. But if I jump into it now, it'll escalate it. The possibility is pretty decent that it's just going to end with a verbal exchange, and then that'll be the end of it. And, which it did, by the way. So I sort of kept at a distance where I can intervene quickly if I have to. He doesn't know I do martial arts, for example. But anyway, it ended as a verbal thing, and don't do it again. And you can't tell my kid what to do. I'd be surprised if it's his kid actually looking at the kid and looking at him. But anyway, so it ended there, and I said to my wife, look, I mean, you did the right thing in telling the kid to stop, but. Nor were you to know who his parents were. I mean, shit, the kid and the parents were nowhere, close to each other. So this idea, the guy was saying, well, you can't tell the kid, you have to tell me. And I don't think that would have made any difference. I think they would have taken it as being some act of disrespect or oppression regardless. But you need to be a little bit tactful and careful here about when and how you intervene. If it had got physical anyway, I'd have intervened immediately. But now there's been, another situation where again, a troglodyte, because sophisticated people don't do it; they typically talk. But a troglodyte was, and you have to have to go in hard along the lines of, you want to talk to a judge? You want to go into court and talk to a judge? Hey, you want to talk to a judge? Is that what you want? How did it work out last time you talked to a judge? Because if it goes to a judge this time, I'll be asking for prison time. And straight away you can see the look on the guy's face. Holy fuck. And you remind him of what it was like last time he was talking to a judge and how it didn't go so well. And people who are like that, who are always ready to look for trouble, to find trouble, to jump into the middle of trouble because they're fighting back against disrespect, then they're the ones that have had the unfortunate interactions with the law, and you can remind them of that. They're all big and tough, and I'm going to knock your teeth out, and yeah, sure you are. Let's see what you're going to be, this big and tough talking to the judge, and you can see suddenly the look on their face, and that's it. They go into panic mode almost. Came now to the issue of just. At what point is a woman's honour or some sort of equivalent or physical, harm or how does that work? I remember as a kid, and I've got a sort of low opinion of these sort of men and a low opinion of the women that are involved in it too, by the way. There was a woman that my mother knew when I was young, and I'd seen her do this more than once, where she would pick a fight with a man, to just say to him, you know what, you're an asshole. And he would say, well, why don't you get fucked or something? So she, he told me to get fucked. And then she'd run to some man that she'd already prearranged, like in her mind. It was a set piece routine. And she'd go to a man, she'd cry and say, he told me to get fucked. Him, go and beat him up for me. And so then the big, strong He-Man, hairy-chested He-Man would go over and he'd say, did you say get fucked to that woman? And then that was it. He was a big man now. He demonstrated his manhood credentials. But really, he'd just been played by a devious, manipulative woman. He wasn't protecting anyone's honor or standing up for anybody. This was also, one of the first jobs that I had. I was like 14 or something, working in the school Christmas summer holidays. And as Christmas in Australia is sort of during summer, so I was working there, and I remember it was like payday, which was on a Friday, whenever it was, and I went to get my pay as everybody did, and I had a bus to catch, and so I was, my mother had been pestering. I had to be back for this dinner because some people were coming over, something like that. But I went to get my pay, as you're supposed to at a particular appointed time, and the woman in the pay office came back with something like, "I'll get it when I'm ready, and you can damn well wait." It was something like that. And I pointed out, hey, it's my pay packet. I need to get a bus here. Why are you? What's the problem here? Why are you being difficult about it? And then I got what did you say to me? Then she storms off, and there's one of the guys who were working. He'd be about 40, and I'm not sure he'd ever get laid, but he was a solidly built guy, or seemed as as I was 14. He was quite a bit taller than me and probably 3 times my body weight. So I thought, I guess I'll have to wait for the pay packet. I'll have to wait till she's ready. She storms off. Next thing you know, this guy appears, whatever her name was, Jane or something. I want to know what you said to Jane. You tell me. And he's pointing at me, and he's poking me in the chest, and he's the big tough guy. He's there to protect the little woman. Now she's gone off and said to him, well, I don't know what she said to him, but I wouldn't give him his pay pack, and I told him to piss off, and then he got upset by that. That wouldn't have worked, that wouldn't have got ginned up the guy. So she was for no reason at all. He came and told me to, and so the big tough guy's there, but he's not protected. He's there to show his manhood. This is now a vehicle for him to show his manhood, to show how big and tough he is. So this guy, who'd be about 40, I guess, and again, this is a pushover, but he's there to stand up for her right. He's there to put another man in his place. But I mean, a 14-year-old kid. I don't think he'd have done that if I was a 40-year-old man, or if there was a 40-year-old man involved. But nonetheless, she's picked the fight and then set the whole thing up. And so also is the case in various bars where in those days they had the men's lounge, the women's lounge, and the family lounge. And so in some places, to get from the family lounge to the women's lounge, you had to walk through at the very end the men's lounge. And so there'd always be some man, pretty much I notice this all the time, there'll be some man, everybody stop swearing, there's a woman in the bar. And everyone looked around. And the idea was, he was protecting women's honor. So I don't think much of this, but, and wherever I found it, it's men trying to be hero men to protect this imaginary sense of honor and so on. But women play up to this, and I had a long time ago now. I had a date. Was out on this day. It's one of those mixed blind dates where a buddy of mine was dating some girl. Her girlfriend, the girl he was dating, her girlfriend didn't have a date, and he wanted to go, and she wanted to come. So he sort of railroaded me into coming along, and as like her date for the night, the friend's date for the night. And so we're after dinner or before dinner, whenever it was, we went to a bar, and she went up to some guy at the bar who and then said something. I'd have been, I don't know, 20 years old or something, and said something to him, and he shot back. I was watching, and he shot back. Then she came over and said, "Oh, he was really rude to me. You have to go and beat him up for me." And again, so there's a lot of women around who played men in that way. And I remember quite vividly those sort of things, and the amount of women, and also in the workplace, women who would, again, look for a fight or look for confrontation, then they go running to the toilet crying, and then there'd be some hero guy would appear from somewhere. I want to know what you said to Jane. No, fuck off. No, what I said is fuck off. Yeah. But anyway, this was something that I observed. So I didn't think much of this so-called standing up for women. Now, as the women's equality and women saying men are all evil, misogynist, patriarchal, Nazi, then I don't see men have any obligation or any requirement other than a direct relative. I mean, it could be your wife or your daughter or something, or your mum, sure, obviously. But outside of that, I don't see there's any obligation. Now, if I saw, anyone being beaten up, man or woman, there's someone beating them up, I would intervene to stop that. But not because it's a woman or because it's the little woman and I'm the big he-man. I would stop it because, as best I'm aware, it's illegal, and it's also rather unpleasant to have someone getting beaten half to death and right in front of you, and you can do something about it. Now, I'm still fit enough and capable enough to do it. In a few more years, I probably won't be, given my age, so I'd have to walk past it. So, or you get on the phone and call the police or something. But this idea of there is some obligation of men to protect women, a blanket obligation, I don't accept that, and I don't agree with it. Women can have equality, but not also can't be cowering little victims that need big, strong man. The same goes in gender relations, where I've known as a woman used to work at a cafe they used to go to a lot. This cafe used to get in all the top magazines, and so I used to go there because I could read all the magazines. Anyway, she worked there, and she was about 5 foot tall. I think she was originally Greek or something like that, but she's about 5 foot tall. No, I mean, okay looking, all right, I suppose. But she had a thing about only dating 6 foot tall or over 6 foot tall muscle guys. She claimed she couldn't orgasm unless the guy was roided out and was like 6'3" or something, even though she's 5 foot tall. And I was asking, well, why? Oh, well, he's my protection. He'll protect me from other men. So what you perceive, the main threat to you is from men. So you get a man to protect you from men. Is that, have I got the logic right? Well, yeah. and then she wanted the muscle bound guys because then that. But she liked to control them. She got off on the controlling of them. This was part of her. I can't orgasm unless it's a huge guy on roids. So. And I've saw her with the roided. So she would get some IQ 70 roided out muscle guy, and then she would control them as if she would control a pet dog or a wayward child or something like that. And inevitably these things wouldn't end well, and she'd end up with a black eye or something. But then she'd scream victim. Oh, now I'm a victim. I'm either a powerful, strong woman in charge, or I'm a victim. So I said to him, why do you bait them and push it so much? And why do you do that? You know it's going to end up in the way it does. Oh, it just makes me feel good when I do it. So she just can't restrain herself. So I think this whole idea of the honor of women and protecting women and being a hairy-chested man and I'm a big tough guy is I don't think it has any sort of real relevance in today's society. And I don't think that men that want to be big heroes are really real men at all. It's this idea that real men protect women, real strong men. I think that's bullshit. I don't accept that. I think it's a fantasy that a man thinks if he protects the woman, he'll get a fuck on one hand, but also it's this faux demonstration of his manhood. If that's the only way you can achieve manhood, dude, you got a lot of problems. You've been a Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for listening.